Hi, I'm Sonia Luna, CEO and founder of Aviva Spectrum, an internal audit and compliance consulting firm headquartered in lovely, sunny Los Angeles, California. Today's guest is Jeremy Dillard, which I'm super excited about. And I wanted to get your thoughts, Jeremy, if you could talk about the main reasons why COSO changed its framework.
Sure. If you think about all the changes in the business environment across the world since 1992, there's been a lot of things that impact internal controls. And the COSO organization went back and looked at their framework and realized it needed to be refreshed to include things like the changes in technology and globalization, as well as a lot of companies now outsource more functions than they ever did in the past.
So it's globalization, increased outsourcing in terms of, let's say, if you don't have a core competency in, I don't know, HR or whatever it may be, and the framework wanted to adjust its core to reflect, it's been 20 years of these, technology advancements as well as how we do business in the world, et cetera. So that totally makes sense. But, for our audience, what do you believe are the top three changes in this new COSO framework?
The biggest developments that I've seen in reading the documents over and over again are, first of all, when it comes to the group that's charged with governance in a typical organization, that might be a board of directors. They've actually put in some clarifying language on what should be present to have the board operate effectively in its role of oversight of management. So for the board of directors, there's two big principles they bring out in the new COSO framework, and the first is independence, and the second is relevant expertise. So that's going to be a real challenge, especially for companies that are smaller or closely held, to figure out how they can have board members, which are often held by close family members, but who also work in senior management roles. So trying to figure out how to have a board that can effectively challenge management and its strategic plans and its roles with internal control is going to be a real challenge, but also an opportunity for smaller companies and private companies to figure out. Another change really is within the risk assessment. They went through and they've specifically called out fraud risk as something that management, as it goes through its risk assessment process, that it needs to consider. Before it kind of alluded to it and everyone knew that they were kind of doing it, but now it's explicit as one of the requirements in the framework that they really need to consider the fraud risk assessment. And the third one really gets back to what we talked about before with the outsourced service providers. Using the example you laid out, Sonia, of a payroll company, a lot of times management has the perception that because they've outsourced the work or delegated the work, that they're not responsible for it. And this is further made confusing because of, say, indemnification agreements, even with the payroll company. However, management really needs to understand at the end of the day, they have ultimate responsibility for making sure that outsourced work is done properly. And that creates and that's what's brought out in this new framework is that concept that even though they outsource or delegate work to some third party, they're still responsible for making sure it's done right. And that permeates all elements of a business's system of internal control. So if you think about, say, the control environment and how management wants to run their business with whatever ethical values and integrity they deem are appropriate, trying to convey that also to third-party service providers so that they understand exactly how management wants that portion of their business run is what COSO has really changed with this new framework.